Of course, you want to run faster, but did you know it's not just your running sessions that are going to help you reach that goal? Spending some structured time in the gym will significantly help with your overall running performance. And we're here to make sure that you target the most appropriate and specific exercises. So much strength, speed, power, resilience and coordination that you can gain from running alone. Adding in even just 2 gym sessions per week can enable you to take your running to the next level. Whether you're struggling with regular niggles or injuries, it's potentially your running form that needs some development, or you're just struggling to find that top end speed, these specific exercises will help all of those areas. It's quite tough to narrow it down to a finite selection with so many variations and progressions out there, but this will hopefully give you a great base and a starting point. It's time to switch up the crab walks and introduce the cable machine. Now, if you've got one of these in your gym, you are lucky because there are so many variations of exercises which you can choose. But today we are going to be focusing on something specific that will get your outer glutes and your thighs working. The action is straightforward. You'll have one foot planted on the floor and then you'll take your other foot and leg out away from the midline. This is known as abduction. It's going to fire up your glute minimus and glute medius, often overlooked, yet incredibly important to keeping your hips from dropping mid-stance phase of the running gait. So simply slide the cable junction to the floor level and make sure it's secured with the pin. Find an attachment that will work to put your foot in and select a light weight. This exercise is harder than it looks. And focus on keeping a really nice posture during this. If you need to hold on to something, that is totally fine. The focus should be making sure the rest of your body stays still and that leg that's moving out away from the midline is nice and straight and nice and controlled. Aim to do 6 repetitions on each leg and do the whole thing 3 times through. Having strong calves and Achilles is essential for preventing injuries, and you'll so often hear of athletes having to do rehab or including calf exercises before they go for their run because they're returning from a calf injury. But as you know, prevention is far better than cure, so let's get ahead of the curve and work this really important muscle and tendon area. Start off with simple double calf raises. Find a step to place the balls of your feet on, then lower down your heels so they're lower than your toes and push back up onto your tiptoes. You want to make sure that you're lowering down slower than you're going up, so use a ratio of 1 second up and 2 seconds going back down as your guide. And aim to complete 3 sets of 10 with a short rest of around 30 seconds in between. And once you're comfortable with double leg, then you can take it up another level, either adding in a weight with a weight vest or simply a handheld weight holding it against your chest, or you can progress this to single leg, but just maybe reduce the amount of reps and start off with 3 lots of 6. It's time to get explosive and develop that power, or find some if it's seriously lacking. This is quite simple. All you need to find is a step or a nice stable box that's gonna have the right height to challenge you. Well, stand in front of said box and you're going to do a standing jump, landing with both feet on the box. Make sure you utilize the arm swing and aim to get your feet off the ground and onto the box as quickly as possible while still landing lightly. Simply step back down, just make sure you alternate which leg you step back on each time. If you're in a gym with a selection of box heights, then find something that you're comfortable doing to start with, but it's still enough of a challenge. And you want to try and target doing 3 sets of 8. And it might sound really simple, but you might be surprised at how out of breath you get. Just doing that explosive activity is really tapping into a slightly different system, but it's going to be great for firing up your glutes and working on your hip drive and your core. The split squat is a variation on the normal squat, and it's going to make it more specific to running, being unilateral. So in a sense, it's going to actually challenge your balance, which will help also wake up your core. To start with, try just with body weight. Take a large step forward into a lunge, place your hands on your hips, and if possible, do this in front of a mirror so you can make sure you've got good alignment and you're not dropping your hips. Ideally, if you have enough control and balance, then place your back foot on something that is around mid-calf to knee height. This will challenge your balance further. Focus on your weight that's going down through the heel of your front foot, not through your toes. Make sure you keep your head up and your chest nice and upright. This might well be enough, and if so, aim for 8 reps on each leg 3 times through. When you're ready to progress, then you can simply add on some weights, whether that's a barbell across the back of your shoulders, you can use dumbbells in your hands down by either side, or even a kettlebell held close to your chest. But I would just reiterate that this exercise is quite challenging, even just with body weight, so make sure that you've nailed your form before you start progressing with any weights. Posterior chain, basically referring to the muscles at the back of your body, are often and quite easily overlooked, but essential when it comes to running. If you think about it, every stride when you're pushing forwards, your leg needs to extend out behind you, and in order to do that, it needs to have your glutes, your hamstrings and your calves all working well together. And that is why the deadlift is such a popular exercise amongst all runners of all abilities and all distances, because it does target this area, as well as making sure you've got a really strong back. Technique is key here to make sure you protect your back. If you're not familiar with this exercise, then do please get a qualified PT to guide you through your first few sessions, and of course start with a light weight. I'm going to describe this with a barbell, but do feel free to start with handheld weights as you start to learn the technique. But as you start to lift heavier, you will need to progress to a bar. So stand with your feet hip width apart, have a soft knee so it's not completely locked out. Concentrate on keeping your back still, and you're going to be hinging from the hips. As you bend down to pick up the bar, try to keep a slight lumbar curve in your lower back. Then take the bar with your hands just wider than your feet. Really think about keeping your chest out, and as you lift up, you're going to be driving your hips forwards as you lift back up to standing, letting the bar just skim past your knees and rest on your thighs. If you are starting out with just the bar, feel free to pop it on some weights so that it's not quite at floor level, because not many of us will have the flexibility and control to pick the bar up from the ground on each repetition. And start off with a higher number of reps and a lighter weight, and as you start to increase the weight, you can reduce the number of reps. We can't forget the upper body. No, I haven't gone mad. The trunk and your arms play a vital role in efficient running, so we need to make sure we strengthen that area as well. You've got the pull-up, which is brilliant for targeting so much of the upper body when it comes to all the muscles. But I know it can be quite a daunting exercise, myself included. But if it is something you want to try, we have got a video on breaking it down and the progressions you can take. The other option is the lat pull-down. Well, this is the easier alternative, and one that can be quickly progressed with the addition of more weight. You'll need to simply find the lat pull-down machine, adjust the leg support so you're secure in your seat, check the weight isn't too heavy to start with, and then take the bar just wider than your shoulders. Lean back a really small amount so you can bring the bar down to the top of your chest. Think about engaging your back and side torso muscles as you pull the bar down towards you, keeping the movement nice and controlled. And then obviously extend your arms back up to the top. Start simply with 3 lots of 8 reps. We've looked at an option for pulling exercises, which will focus on the back of your torso. It's now time to focus on the front and a pushing exercise, and we're actually going to choose the dumbbell bench press, which is very similar to a press up, but it does allow you to have a slightly greater range of movement, and it's going to challenge your stabilizing muscles a little bit more. We're going to start with dumbbells, so select 2 appropriate weights for your experience, and then lie back onto a lifting bench. Plant your feet on the floor and hold your weights close to your chest, with your elbows dropping down towards the floor. Push your hands up to meet at the top of the movement and then control it back down. I'd suggest going for slightly higher reps here. Find a weight where you can manage 3 lots of 10. The emphasis, though, really needs to be on technique first. Nail that, and then you can start to add in the weights as you go. And the key for getting stronger and doing any work in the gym is going to be consistency. So make sure you plan a schedule that you think you can stick to, but also exercises you enjoy. And as long as you've got an exercise that covers all of the areas that we've talked about today that will work towards progressing your running, then you're pretty good to go. Well, let me know if you've enjoyed this or there's any particular exercises you find help your running. You can do that in the comments section below. Give us a like and hit the subscribe button.